Hello everyone, this is Angel, Assistant Professor from the Department of English. In this video, we are going to see about the topic, the Reformation. Reformation is one of the greatest movements that happened in the social history of England. As I said, it is going to be one of the greatest movements. And again, there were many other movements that happened in the history. And this topic, Reformation. Reformation is the term used to refer to the greatest religious movement of the 16th century and having for its objective the reform of the doctrines and the practice of the Church of Rome. So this was the objective of this movement, and in other words, the words of Hilary Black, it was a revolt against Catholicism. And now let's see what was the actual cause of this movement. What was the actual cause of this movement? So there were many causes for the Reformation movement. First and foremost was the fact that some of the doctrines and the practices of the church had become outdated and irrelevant, and therefore they needed reform. So this was the very basic reason that they had. So they thought that the doctrines of the church have become outdated and the practices of the church have actually become outdated, and they wanted to reform all these things. So this was the very first reason. And we actually have so many other reasons, like as I said earlier. The immediate cause for the start of this movement, was that the practice of granting indulgences to all those who contributed to the building fund for the construction of the new St. Peter's Basilica. So this was the immediate cause for the start of this movement. Though we had so many other causes, like we are going to have other reason, the questioning attitude and the legacy of Renaissance. Still, the immediate cause for the initiation of this movement, it is going to be the practice of granting indulgences to all those who contributed to the building fund for the construction of new St. Peter's Basilica. The papal bull issued in the year 1499 stated that the faithful could gain plenary indulgences for themselves and for the souls in purgatory by donating money for the building of the new churches in Rome. Though this had been done with the best intentions, it gave room for all kinds of abuses. And this movement, and this was actually initiated during the time of Pope Leo X. The building plan, the construction of St. Peter's Basilica became more and more elaborate and expensive. Money had to be found for the purpose. The only expedient which the papal administration could think of to surmount the financial difficulty was granting fresh indulgences. Pious people of the entire Christendom were actually shocked by the commercial operation that was going on in the name of Christianity. So this was the immediate cause and the actual cause for the start of this movement. Now let's see how this movement actually got initiated. No, it is not going to be a movement that has been initiated in England. No, it did not have its origin in England. Now let's see from where this movement actually got originated and how this movement actually got initiated and who initiated this movement. And in this topic, in this subtopic, we are going to just see about the beginning of the movement. The one who initiated the Reformation movement was Martin Luther, an ex-Augustinian monk of Germany. On 31st October 1517, Martin Luther. He nailed to the doors of the Wittenberg Church 95 debating points against the doctrine of indulgences and other matters of great importance. As I said in the earlier topic, the immediate cause was actually granting indulgences, right? And he has actually nailed some 95 points against the doctrines of indulgences. Now, the Pope was actually Leo X. As I said, he is Leo X. On 15th June, when 15th June of 1520, when Pope, along with his friends, when he was getting ready to go for hunting, he actually signed the bull, which actually pronounced the excommunication of Martin Luther. This was actually a serious matter, and it actually gave birth again to a serious matter where Martin Luther burnt the bull, and thereafter was an open conflict with the Rome Church, and he was being excommunicated from Roman Church. Many monks and nuns left their monasteries and nunneries, and quite a number of them got married, as Luther himself actually got married. So this was the beginning of the movement. And now in the next slide, we are going to see like how this movement, Reformation movement, got into England. Like who actually initiated this movement into England. So this is going to be the next subheading. The movement that had many supporters in Germany and other European countries. The Reformation movement actually got so many supporters in Germany and in other European countries, but there were little response from England. Not only that, King Henry VIII, who actually wrote in the defense of the doctrines of the church, it is actually even now it is being conferred in their coin. This movement actually got into England by accident. It was actually a result of a side issue. More like a personal issue. The side issue was that the desire of King Henry VIII to get an annulment of his marriage with Catherine of Aragon. He wanted this because he was completely captured by the charm of Anne Boleyn. And Henry hoped to get necessary papal permission to marry the charmed lady, but he however could not get this permission from Pope, and the Pope was Pope Clement VII. The solution suggested by Thomas Cranmer to this problem was to have a complete break with Rome. And now again, as a result of this, we are actually having an Reformation Parliament. In the year 1529, Henry summoned a parliament which came to be known as the Reformation Parliament. And yes, so in this parliament, like in this period, there were actually been some 7 years of time. So there are so many measures, in order to assert England's independence and to curtail papal authority. The parliament began by cutting down the fees which the people were bound to pay to the clergyman. The control of the crown over the church courts was made much more strict. An act of parliament forbade any appeal from an English court to be carried to Rome. So soon after that, the payment of annates, that is, the first year income of a bishopric, was prohibited. The right to appoint bishop was also given over to the crown. So here the Rome actually did not have any authority to have their own bishops. It was even transmitted to the crown. Accordingly, Thomas Cranmer was appointed the new Archbishop of Canterbury. In accordance with the Act of Supremacy passed in the year 1534, the Pope's authority in England was completely abolished and Henry became the supreme head of the Church of England. So, again, now what happens is that in the year 1536, the Reformation Parliament passed a bill to dissolve all the monasteries which possessed much wealth. One by one, all the monasteries were dissolved and their properties confiscated to the use of the king. And now, like again, all those things were being shut down and the monasteries were being taken over by the king and all the wealth has been inherited by the throne. Now, people who protested against this thing, like the activity that the king has been doing, they were severely punished. They were very severely punished. In Europe, the Reformation meant the rejection of papal authority. But, like as I said, the king doesn't want the Pope or the Rome in charges to take over the country. In Europe, the Reformation meant the rejection of papal authority, but the reform of the discipline of the clergy and certain changes in doctrine. But Henry was Henry was not a Protestant. Henry was not a Protestant. That's it. So now we are going to see, and now we are going to see the complete structure, the complete things that had been happening during the rule of King Henry VIII has been summed up by Hilary Black and in the name of the whip with 6 strings. And now we are going to see how this Reformation was during the rule of Edward VI. During the rule of Edward VI, the Duke of Somerset and the Archbishop Cranmer together took supplementary measures to dissolve the religious foundations. Again, they were being the supporter of Henry VIII. Actually, they followed the things that Henry VIII did. In the year 1549, the first prayer book was a complete manual of prayer and worship for the church service in English language was prepared by the Archbishop Cranmer. In doctrine, this new prayer book was not so Protestant because it actually left room for most important Catholic doctrines, and 3 years later there was again a second issue of prayer book. Again, it was named a second prayer book, which to some extent called in question the great Roman Catholic doctrine. The 6 articles were amended, and accordingly wine and as well as bread was given to their faithful at communion. And now we are going to see Mary's attempt to wipe out Protestantism. Like so far we have seen about get rid of this Roman Catholicism. Now we are going to see what was Mary's attempt to wipe out Protestantism in England. So she wanted to bring back all those Roman Catholic rituals. When Mary ascended the throne, she restored the old form of worship, imposing the Latin liturgy and regular Roman doctrines in the place of the English Bible and the prayer book. In the year 1554, the Parliament was induced to repeal all the anti-papal statutes of King Henry VIII's time. A cardinal came from Italy to absolve England of heresy. Mary's husband, Philip II of Spain, advised her to follow a policy of moderation in religious policy of persecution, with the hope of wiping out Protestantism from England. She started burning people at a place called Smithfield, and her rule was actually very short. And over 5 years, she burned nearly 300 people. This burning of great men had a profound influence in making England Protestant. And that's it. Her rule got ended up. And now we are going to see the Queen Elizabeth's rule and how she handled this movement during her rule. That's it. If Henry VIII started the Church of England, it was Elizabeth who founded it. Avoiding the extremes of Edward and Mary, the Elizabethan compromise established the Church of England that was national, continuous and inclusive of most people. A book of common prayer, substantially the same as the second prayer book of Edward VI, was issued at the beginning of Elizabethan's rule. And its use was commanded in every church of the country. 2 acts of Parliament defined the difference between the Church of England and the Roman Church. The Act of Supremacy was the very first act, and the second one is Act of Uniformity. So let's see one by one. The Act of Supremacy made the Church of England independent of Rome, but gave Elizabeth the less provocative title of Supreme Governor rather than Supreme Head of the Church of England. The other act was the Act of Uniformity, which not only put upon all clergy the duty of conducting their services strictly according to the prayer book, but also imposed on all people in the country the duty of going to church on every Sunday and other holidays. A fine of 12 pence was set up the non-attendance at church. And finally, in the year 1563, the doctrines of the Church of England, as implied in the Book of Common Prayer, were defined and set forth in the 39 articles and are now included in the modern prayer book. And as a result of this movement in England, on the whole, it must be said that in England the Reformation brought peace through the Elizabethan compromise, whereas in many other European countries, it caused religious civil wars. Though this movement actually got initiated with so many crises, it ended up in England in a compromising manner. So that's it, an outsketch of this topic, the Reformation. Thank you.